things that I thought were really important didn't seem as important. I had met this incredible human being who had 2 little humans and a great life and, thought I was amazing. And he was like, come home. And I was like, home? Interesting concept.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Quivr Show. This is our audio journal about family, life, business, and the search for our best selves.
We hope you enjoy.
Oh, is it time for a Quivr?
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Quivr Show. I am your host, Ash Crawford. Today, you will meet Gabrielle Gould. I asked Gabrielle on the show today because over the past 4 years, she has been a pillar of my local community. We talk about what it is like to navigate a town through a pandemic and what it means to grow and nurture a local small business community and how we can all have an impact. It was a wide-ranging discussion and it was a lot of fun, so I hope you enjoy. Good morning, Gabrielle.
Good morning, Ash. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Awesome.
You got to see firsthand how we set up the studio here.
Yeah, it's a process. It's a good one. You got it.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate it. In the melee and the rush to get ready this morning, I didn't even bring questions.
So we're winging it 100%.
I think we are.
No preordained questions, no preordained answers.
No.
Right.
This is all just as we go. Your experience with the microphones, where do I put this cord?
Well, yeah, you're in a position there. Yeah, you'd want to wrap that a couple times around and then there you go.
Just elegantly draped?
Elegantly draped.
I love it.
Heather would like the elegant drape.
Yeah, she has most of the design and aesthetic style in our entire relationship.
And the can do. No offense.
Jeez. Every guest I've had on that also knows my wife sides with her. And it's fair.
It's tough when you marry like badass women, you know?
It's not. It's the
not.
greatest.
Oh, good.
It's the greatest.
Glad you don't think it's tough.
All right. Well, I like to open up with a little bit of an icebreaker.
All right, go.
So I know your lovely husband.
Yes. Better half.
Your better half.
Yes.
Speaking of. But if you did have to write a dating profile for yourself right now,
fuck.
What would it say?
You know, it's so funny you bring this up because I saw this TikTok this morning of these 2 little babies, I'm assuming twins, in a carrot in a shopping cart, and they're looking at skeletons, Halloween skeletons, playing like the banjo, and it says, showing my married friends what the dating apps are like, and the 2 little kids are just like, and I kind of do that weird prayer to gods that I don't believe in, that I'm not out there in the world. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. God, what do you like? You're supposed to be the outdoorsy type, which I am, so that's good. You've got a poster in here that says anyone who lives within their means suffers from a lack of imagination. So I guess part of my dating app should be I do not live within my means and get used to that. Hard worker, if you're trying to like really pitch something positive. Yeah, fiercely independent, loves to travel, lives to eat, lives to drink. Those would be the key components. Up for anything, jumping out of a plane, scuba diving, whatever you want to do, let's do it. But I don't know. Oh God. Yeah. So happy I'm not out there.
That's a pretty good answer. And I guess part 2 of that, can you imagine what your profile picture would be like? Is it you jumping out of a plane? It's
so tough, right? Because, and we have a daughter who was on some of the apps before she met the person, the one, and she put up this gorgeous party pic of her, and she's not a party girl. She's the girl who builds rooms like this and hikes and does all this stuff, and she's like, well, that's the picture you have to put because otherwise you're just getting swiped. So I don't know. I normally don't wear makeup. My hair is always in a ponytail, and I'm kind of like, would I put up the picture with the eyeliner on the this and the that to get the whichever way you swipe? I don't even know. and then you show up and you're a lie. I don't know. That's yeah, it's a good question. I'd like to say I'd put up the picture of me, hiking the Seven Sisters here, but I'd be blotchy and red and nobody would swipe on me. So why would I pick that picture? Again, we're trying really hard not to be on the dating apps. We're a couple of days away from a 20th wedding anniversary, and we're focused. We are focused on another 20.
That's amazing. That is so cool. And I love hanging out with you guys. I love seeing you guys interact with each other. Any advice to somebody who's been married 2 months? That could be a very broad question, but
expect everything and expect nothing. Support each other, allow each other to grow. You are not going to be the same person. I mean, when I met Brant, I was 23, 24 years old. I am not that person. At that point I had a trajectory. I knew what I was going to do. 9/11 happened. Everything changed in my life and my trajectory changed. And, I think he has gone from serial entrepreneur, chef, restaurant owner to contractor, fine carpentry. You grow, you change. And I think one of the biggest mistakes in relationships is you meet a person, you fall in love with that person, and you want to encapsulate that moment, that time, that person. And it doesn't. And you have to find your moments. You have to find your romance again. And I don't like giving advice because we're all such different, unique, individual human beings. And I feel that way about parenting. I feel that way about relationships. But I guess I would just say you have to find the space. You have to find your own space, and you have to let each other be who you want to be. Yeah.
No, I love that. And I guess and
nothing's perfect.
Right.
So I think we can see people and we're like, look, they're perfect. They're so happy. Nothing is perfect.
Usually far from it.
Yeah. Especially in a Instagram world or where all we see is the perfect moment. When if people look at Brant and I and are like, oh my God, look at them. It's like, you're seeing us out, Right. You're not seeing us in the morning having coffee, wondering if the world is ending.
Right.
So, yeah.
No, I love that. So you mentioned when you were 23, you knew exactly what you wanted to do in your trajectory in the world. What was that?
Yeah, so I had been an opera major, and then I went to grad school for Chekhov and Shakespeare theater, and I was going to be an actor. Full stop. I was going to be on Broadway. I was going to act. That was going to be my life. Never was I going to have children. Just had a path, had a plan. Didn't want to get married. Didn't want children. Really singular. That's what I was going to do. And life changes, and that's okay. And it's good. Life is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy how now that I'm old enough to look back on different stages of my life, like I had a dream like that was like single focus. This is what I'm going to do. And like the world would end if I wasn't on track to do that.
Yeah.
But then life happens and things change, and it's hard and it sucks, but also like you grow from it, you change, you find new passions or new outlets, and it's cool, but it's hard in the moment sometimes. I don't know.
Also, think about those remarkable people who got out of college, got the job, and they're there 20, 30, 40 years later. And I look at my life and I think of all the different things, and I think of you and all the different things that you've done. We're not lacking imagination, that's for sure.
Right.
And it doesn't make it easy. There's not some big 401k retirement package that you have when you don't do things the linear way, but it's been fun.
So what do you feel drives those changes for you? Is it opportunities and interests that you jump at, or what changed for you to pivot there?
Well, what changed for me to pivot there was, being very, very madly in love with someone who was not going to be coming into my world. So one of us had to jump into the other world. But I really do think, 9/11 was a big catalyst for me. I mean, I was downtown in New York. The job that I was signed on to do, got put indefinitely on hold. So there was a moment where I could run away, and sort of run towards something else. And in that moment for me being downtown and I saw the first plane hit on a television screen and, like everybody thought, oh, wow, that's weird, kept walking downtown. And then people were running uptown. And I remember thinking, oh, they're covered in paint. That's so weird. But, that night, the next day, being in the city and not really knowing what's going on and, where the world is, the things that I thought were really important didn't seem as important. And I had met this incredible human being who had two little humans and a great life and, thought I was amazing. And he was like, come home. And I was like, home, interesting concept. So that was the big pivot. It was a huge pivot and a huge change.
Yeah.
And a good one.
Yeah. If you I don't know, it's like you have those moments in your life where I was talking about this with somebody recently, it's like that, whether it's a big traumatic event or something sudden, or it's a slow thing, but it's like that give you perspective on what's important or sheds a little light on some things that you didn't think were important, but then turned out to be, or was more aligned with where you truly wanted to go.
Well, and I think also it's growing up, right? It's experiencing more, and then being, the seventh grader, the boy that doesn't like her, life is over, right? And then by, your 20s, the boy doesn't exist, and but you think exactly what you want to do, but then that kind of shifts and changes. And my life has been massive, major shifts and changes. Whether it's career or moving, or when we decided to move here, that was a huge leap of faith, and it. So far it has, it hasn't left us plummeting, and that's a good place to be.
Totally.
Yeah.
So how do you like to describe what you do now?
Gosh. So what's funny about the gig I'm in now is I've been there for 4 years, and I had no idea what this organization did when I applied for the job. I just knew that I loved the job description, and I wanted a job in the place where I lived. So I wanted to be in Amherst. And now I would describe what I do mainly as economic development, arts and cultural building, and a ton of small business support. And I don't think none of that was in the job description when I took on the position. And when my time comes and it returns sort of to what the job was, I think that will be a good thing, because I think we've done the heavy lifting. And the hope is that, it doesn't get screwed up too badly after the next, sort of rotation happens.
So it sounds like you've spent a couple of years laying a good foundation to build on. Would you say that? Or has it been a lot of...
Well, we had that crazy thing called a pandemic happen. And one of the things that the pandemic allowed us to do was sort of rebuild. So in rebuilding, we were able to curate a downtown and sort of say like, what's missing and how do we get that, instead of it just being like you inherited all of these businesses, whether or not they mesh or work together. So my job over sort of post-pandemic has been to, of course, build arts and culture in the form of the Drake, and then to work with some of the landlords in the town. Some of them are really great and really open to this, to say, can you hold off? Can we get a brewery here? Can we do this here? Can we do that? Can it not just be the first business who's willing to sign the lease? And then a lot of that post-pandemic has been sitting down with people who come in and say, I love to throw dinner parties at home for 12 people. I think I'm going to be a great restaurant owner. And I sit there and tell them exactly why they shouldn't do that ever. And some listen and some don't, which is great. And, because that does not make a restaurant, as because you're in the business, it's a slog. So I try and be really honest with people who want to open businesses, and really brutal about the rate of failure and the rate of success.
Yeah. The harsh realities. You said you don't really like to give advice, but you give what? You give warnings.
I think I give reality, or I try to, I mean, someone comes in and I say, great, what's your business plan? And they're like, oh, I don't have one. And I'm like, then don't open a business. Don't be stupid. You need to have you need to know, how many cups of coffee do you have to sell to pay the rent? How many cups of coffee do you have to sell to pay your staff?
It's a lot. It's a lot of cups of coffee is the answer. A lot
of cups of coffee. So when another coffee shop is sniffing around, I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Let's look at the lay of the land here. Like, we've got these great places. Why? What are you bringing? What are you going to do that's so different? What is so unique about your experience that I'm going to stop going to the place that I go every day for the past 4 years and start coming to you? And if you don't have a passionate, committed, really well thought out response to that, why are you going to put your blood, your sweat, your tears, your capital, and probably go into debt to open this small business?
Yeah, that is good advice. I mean, downtown Amherst has become something completely different than it was even just 5 years ago. It's awesome. Did you have like a holistic vision of some of the types of businesses that you wanted to see downtown? Like, you've put in a live music venue in the Drake, a brewery has just gone in, a really awesome local craft brewery. Is there like a checklist of businesses that you thought would be really good, or you see where I'm going with this?
I do. Yeah. Yep. Especially during the pandemic, when we started to lose businesses, and we were working really hard through the Downtown Amherst Foundation to save businesses with grants, micro grants, and assisting small businesses to write the state and federal grants and the PPP, all the loan and implementation. So at the same time we were fighting really hard to save businesses, I was sort of in my head going, okay, what's the best thing to replace that particular business? How do we fill these empty spaces? And there was a checklist, and it was art and culture, music, breweries, experience-driven retail. And one of the examples I use of an amazing retail opening in Amherst in a dying age of retail, where we all spent the pandemic learning point, click, add to cart, and oh my goodness, the next morning it's there. And if I don't like it, I just drive it right down to Whole Foods and hand it to them without a box. And it's so easy, right? So why would we go out and shop? So experience-driven retail. When I meet retailers who want to open downtown, I'm like, what are you going to give that's different than what I can do online? And usually that is somebody's incredible personality, their incredible salesmanship, and their passion for what they're doing. So, there was definitely a checklist, and I think we're almost there.
Yeah, I was gonna. That's the follow. What is
one more piece?
One more piece. Can you allude to what that might?
I believe that downtown Amherst is a food desert, not in terms of the almost 50 plus restaurants that is global, every kind of cuisine. You can be in Tibet 1 minute and Shanghai the next. And, but we need a market. We need a really small, gourmet, but quick. I run in, I can pick up the 4 or 5 things that I need to go home and make a meal, and I don't have to go down Route 9, and I don't have to go to the grocery store, as it were. So local corn when it's in season, some dried pasta, a great sauce, bottle of wine, cheese and crackers, and I'm out the door and I'm home. Milk would be great.
Right.
Half and half.
Yeah. Fish, some meat. Yeah. Stuff to host a restaurant at home.
Yes.
So all those entrepreneurs that are thinking about opening a restaurant, if we open a market, they can. I can open my restaurant at home
instead of opening a restaurant that's going to crush your soul. You can just entertain at home, which is so much more fun.
I agree with you on that. I can't wait to see what comes with that. Yeah,
that's going to be good. We'll see.
Awesome.
We'll see if I get there.
Awesome. This was a newer question that I've been thinking about myself in my own life. And if you do so many things, and sometimes I like to split up life into oversimplify the categories.
Okay.
So if we think about life in 4 categories, your work life, your family, your community or relationships,
Yeah.
and yourself.
Yeah.
How do you prioritize each of those things, or how do you strive to find balance in them?
It's always shifting, right? So you realize that you're forgetting about yourself and you have to readjust and you have to, sort of get back to a place where you become a priority. I think it's really easy to over prioritize work. And I know for myself, right leading up into the summer, I had burned myself out on work. Part of that is because of the community we live in, and my work/community life started getting private and into my home. And that is where I had to draw like a huge boundary, build a border wall and say, no. My community and my work doesn't get to come into my home and my personal space. And I think Amherst is unique that it does like to it likes to get personal. And I realized that wasn't going to be healthy and that wasn't going to be good for my personal and my family. So prioritizing my family and myself, really at the beginning of the summer, I was like, yeah, that's the focus. My home is my sanctuary. I no longer allow people in my work community access to my life and my family. So I think that it's a hard thing to draw a line to, but I think it is a constantly shifting. And I think it almost has to be, because there are times like starting a business or, doing something where your work has to be your priority. And then there are times where your family has to be your priority. And somewhere in there is your community and yourself. But it's a constantly shifting and evolving prioritization of those four really important things. And I don't think anybody gets it right 100% of the time. I think it's a battle. I think it's a battle for everybody. I hope, God.
Yeah. No.
Hope I'm not alone.
Everybody I've spoken to, it seems to be something like that. And everyone's got a slightly different way of trying to manage it or work with those facets. And I'm just personally curious because I feel like I can get so far down a work imbalance or the other direction. Like I would love to just spend all day on myself and just sauna and work out and drink green juice and sleep 10 hours a day. But then I was like, well, then there's nothing else. I gotta do a little bit of.
Yeah. So and even if you were one of those lucky people who remembered to grab a trust fund along the way, it's like, you're going to get really bored and that's going to be a really solipsistic life. So you don't want to, it's great, sure. But it also gets old, and you'll get, people will look at you and be like, I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Right.
You know? So, but you also, we see those people who their work life cripples them and kills them, and they end up in hospitals or on more medication than you can imagine. And, you're just like, oh, don't be that either. Work's important. Yeah.
Right.
But there has to be a balance.
Right.
Yeah.
Finding the balance. I'm trying to remember what's on my list of key questions.
Oh, you didn't have a list. Oh, no, you forgot the list.
I forgot the list. It's ever evolving. A question I like to ask is, what are you grateful for right now?
Right now, I'm super grateful for my family. And we're in that weird transition. We've got an 18-year-old has just moved out and he's starting, his journey. So that is, I know it should get easier. He's the third of four. But that was just, it's such a unbelievably heart-wrenching, exciting moment. So it just reminds you that, what is the saying? The days are short. No. The days are long, but the years are short. And I mean, in my world, our two boys were babies a hot minute ago. And when I see like your nieces, I'm like, yeah, my kids are exactly the same age. And, they're both over 6 foot and they're both adults and they're driving and they have these rich lives. And we've got 9 months left before the next one flies out of the nest. And so I'm really focusing on family, and that is what I'm most grateful for. Yeah.
It's a good answer. I like that.
It's the current answer. I'm sure
it's the
there have
current
been other
answer.
times where I'm like, my this or my that. But right now, that's it.
Yeah. If you look at the world in its current state and your life, is there a hope? Like, what is the change you would like to see in the world? If it was up to you, what would you like to see more of or a shift in?
Well, because we're in America right now, I would say civility is hugely missing and lacking. And I don't quite understand how we change the world for the better or become better humans or better stewards if we can't listen and have civil conversation. And I think, unfortunately, and I don't know when it started, there are like such easy answers of like when so-and-so won the election or when this happened, but something was so broken that was possible. So I think that if we are going to fix our planet, whether it's globally or economically, or on my way in, I was listening to this very intense conversation about immigration, and I think I remain shocked and saddened by how much hatred we continue to have and how uncivil we continue to be. And I just don't know how you move forward if that's what we're leading with so much of the time. Not always, but so much of the time, and you look at our politics, you look at our global, the amount of wars, the amount of infighting, the amount of discourse, and it's really hard to sort of think like, where's the hope? There is hope. There has to be.
Yeah.
And part of that is look at the students out there making their universities and state institutions divest themselves of oil companies and fossil fuels, and and so people are starting to listen. And I guess our hope is the next generation's better than us. I don't know. And that's the hope. I don't know. Yeah, that's it.
You sort of, you jumped to my next follow-up question is like, why are you optimistic about the future? And you just touched on it there, that one, we've got to be, and hopefully like the hope is that, yeah, but if our hope is that the next generation is going to do better, how is that different? Like, we've got to do better, which we know,
we can't
but like
throw it on them and be like, you do better. We're
right.
done. We've done our work and we're
Right.
we're clocking out. No. We don't get to do that.
I know you didn't mean that. No.
Yeah. I mean, the hope, it's, here we are, we're sitting on a major thoroughfare road and I'm looking out your window here and it's so beautiful. We live in such a beautiful world and humans are so beautiful, and our world around us is so beautiful. So if we can start to remember and start to focus on the good and the beauty, and that I truly believe that most people do want to be better and want to learn and want to figure out where we're not wrong, because there's another negative, but where can we do better?
Yeah.
Where can we say, oh, I know I feel that way somewhere deep down inside because it's inherited or it's inherent, and how do I look at it better? But I also, to put on the next generation in the same way that it's been put on, like I'm Generation X, the same way that it's been put on me to say like, take shorter showers, do this. And I'm like, stop fracking.
Right.
I'm not taking a shorter shower while you're sitting there literally pumping gazillions of gallons of drinking water in so you can get the last little bit of oil that's left in our, rocks. So I don't think it's fair to look at the world and like look at the next generation and be like, you fix this. It's like, it's got to start at a much higher level. And again, that goes back to civility and politics and discord. And, we're not going to save the world by recycling here in Amherst. It's got to start. It should have been a much bigger conversation, and it should have been a much bigger mandate a long time ago. So now we're at that tipping point, right? So, it's not fair to just look at the next generation and be like, you guys fix this. What a great concept. We're going to Bora Bora.
Right.
I don't know. I think I just went in a circle.
Yeah, no, it's something I've been thinking about. And I think that you touched on something with civility, and I know I keep coming back to this. It's like we talked about, like, when did this sort of start? And it's like, I really feel it's been exacerbated by social media and the access to information and various qualities of information constantly. It's like people are losing how to have a conversation with people, how to be nice to people, how to gather information from all spectrums of an opinion.
Yeah.
A range of opinions, and then formulate discussion around it.
Well, and then also that opinions have now become fact. And, that's simply, you can have an opinion on something, but it doesn't make it true. And sometimes it feels with media that it's simply that if you say it, it's now true. And that's very dangerous, right? Because we need facts. We need the real numbers. We don't get to say, it's beautiful out today, so therefore the planet's perfectly healthy and fine. Or I flew over and there's plenty of wood, so what are you talking about? We're not deforesting. Those are great opinions for individuals to have if they want to. But yeah. Yeah,
it's interesting.
Yeah. And then the other thing about social media, and we all love it, right? We all will sit there and, whether it's scrolling DIY videos or scrolling panda videos, it's great. And I do believe that as humans, we need that step back from reality and that step back from the real world. But the other thing about Instagram, and I think you really know this as an influencer, is you're only putting the really great stuff up there, right? And when you're young and impressionable and everything is on your phone and all you see are perfect people, in perfect moments, living perfect lives, and then you look in the mirror and you have a pimple, or your hair's not great that day, or, you're not the quintessential, what everybody has ordained as perfectly beautiful. It weighs on people. And, I worry, especially, this next generation who are getting phones earlier and earlier and are having access to all these things more and more. How do you balance that? Reality is very different. We used to watch movies and be like, oh, look at all the perfect Hollywood actors. But we knew that was film, right? We watched it for 2 hours and it was great. And the story ended perfectly, or it ended the way it was meant to, or the heroine survives the horror film, or, but now we're just looking at people who, are filtered and are stunning and are jumping off, waterfalls, and you're at work and you're like, why do I have to work? And they get to jump off of a waterfall. And you're like, because you jumped off of a waterfall 3 months back, but you forgot about that because now you're just living off social media. And I do think that conversation piece is hugely important. Like, how are people, I'm getting caught up in your wires. How are people communicating if all we're doing is typing comments that we're never held responsible for?
Right.
And that's really scary.
I mean, it is, and I've sort of been at the forefront of social media over the last, since I got Twitter in 2008, maybe. It's been 15 years, and to see the evolution of it, but it's like, it's just hit this speed ramp. It's like you're saying, you're looking at these curated videos of people in Bora Bora or The Perfect Life, and these examples that people are sitting at home watching. It's gone a step beyond that. And there is a ton of accounts now that are some of the top influencer accounts that are not even real people. They are completely AI generated, that people can't tell the difference. and they have brand deals.
That's so who's getting the money? The guy generating the AI?
Like the young kids in Belarus or in a basement in New Orleans who are creating a girl who models makeup and bikinis who is completely an algorithm that has a deep fake voice and a whole personality. So people are watching it.
This is like such news to me. I'm like, oh my God, no.
I'll show you one of the accounts, but it's like you can barely tell if you know that it's fake.
Wow.
So then what does that mean if your kid is 12 years old sitting at home watching a video game acting as if it's living a real life?
Yeah. You just kind of hope that everybody one day wakes up and deletes all the apps.
Right.
You know, but there goes all the information. So it's really hard. You know, it's how do you know how to do electrical work if you can't watch the guy teaching you how to do electrical work? And there's so much good. There's like the dad that teaches kids like how to change their oil and how to tie a tie and all these things for kids who grew up without paternal figures. And then there's an AI generated bot who is just simply beyond perfect and unattainable in any way, shape, or form.
So what happens if that same AI bot showed me a very, very efficient and succinct video of how to change a tire or to replace a gasket in my car or fridge?
I mean, yeah, but where's the humanity? And that's what's... I mean, isn't that part of the SAG-AFTRA strike right now of actors being like...
We're on strike.
We're on strike, and part of that strike and what they're doing is AI and deepfakes are becoming so much that the actors are aware that their being, their presence, their voice, their look can be regenerated without their permission and used to make films, television shows, you know, all those things. And now you're not paying humans to do their jobs anymore. Yeah, I don't know. Ugh, God.
It's like the other example is I heard a song the other day. It was like a suggested on YouTube, and it was this awesome song by The Weeknd collaborating with I think Tiger or one of the top rappers.
Yeah,
and it's this amazing beat. It had some great hook, and I was just like, oh, this is rad. And then I went on to find out that it was a completely AI generated song that they had never said any of those lyrics, but they used their voice to create this hit that had hundreds of millions of views before it was taken down. And then other artists have gone on to say, hey, you can use my voice and you'll get 50% of the royalties if you create music using my likeness. It's this crazy slippery slope.
Well, yeah, because especially as an artist, you're giving away your autonomy. You're giving away your art. You're giving away your voice. How do you give your voice away?
Well, some aren't, and some are.
Wow. Yeah, it's I mean, and take it to, you've got auto workers on strike, and I'm watching that unfold and I'm reading about it, and all I can think is, you know, that Ford, Chevy, and all the major companies are out there going, automate as fast as possible. Mm-hmm. Even if we agree to this 36% pay raise right now, we've got to be making sure that we don't need 90% of these workers. And that's how quickly AI is moving and how quickly we are going in a dark, dark place.
It's an interesting time in history to be a part of.
Yeah. So
then,
like, talk to your barista, like, make friends, like, go out for coffee. Like, this is important. Yeah.
I know people ask me, like,
human interaction.
What am I doing in the cafe? Like, when I come through Amherst Coffee and I'm not holding regular shifts there. Yeah. I was like, I'm getting off my computer and emails, and I'm chatting. I'm chatting with customers. I'm chatting with staff. I'm like hearing about what's going on, because like, if we lose that, if we lose the face-to-face that we're having right now, it's like, so that's where I have the hope is like, can we hold on? Can we instill in the next generation that curiosity for human interaction? Or I don't know.
And is that the next revolution, that everybody just says, no, I'm not going to allow you to take humanity away, and I'm not going to allow you to steal my voice, and we're all going to go out and interact one-on-one, talk to people.
Yeah.
Shop locally. Go into restaurants. Don't push a button on an espresso machine. Go out and buy that espresso. And I hate to say go out and buy that espresso, because then we're like, oh, capitalism and money, and that's what it's all about. But it really is about that interaction. Yeah. Huh.
I think that there's a difference between capitalism and interacting with a service like buying an espresso from a local coffee shop.
Yeah.
I gotta believe, I don't know where that line differentiates. Like,
so in the world of service, there's been a real big, like, we're going to put QR codes and you're going to order from the table. And isn't that great? And I'm like, no. And granted, I grew up in the restaurant business. I've worked in restaurants since I could probably walk. To me, it's having that person come to the table, tell you the specials, you order an entree. Do you want anything else? And then you're like, oh yeah, I'll grab that appetizer. You finish the glass of wine. Are you getting back on are you stopping your conversation? Are you putting your phone back on the QR code? Are you finding the menu? Are you ordering that glass of wine? Are you then paying for that glass of wine? So we've just completely changed the way we dine out with other human beings. And we've changed the way that we communicate and meet a new human being who's there to, wait on you, and it's their livelihood for the moment or for their life, and how do you cut that out? And it seems like we keep striving to cut that out, and I don't understand why that's the goal. And granted, labor shortages, I know that there's a lot of reasons why a lot of small businesses are trying to find the way, but cutting out that human interaction. I mean, some of the best people I know in my life are people that I was bartending and waiting on, way back in the day in college, that are still friends. We still have dinners together, when we're back to, on island and things like that. So I just wonder, like, why do we keep trying to cut out the communication, the human interaction in favor of something that we can do on a mega computer that slips into our back pocket so easily?
Big corporate driven money.
Yeah.
I wonder if we're going to get to the point where there's going to be a group of people who are chasing human interaction. There's going to be like human social clubs where it's like once a week you meet with people with no technology, and that's like you need like a human society to form that you can opt into.
Well, isn't that sort of dating apps in a weird way? I mean, you used to like...
Oh, right, we're going to organize people via a Facebook group, obviously.
Yeah, but it's like you used to go to a coffee shop and meet somebody. You used to go to a bookstore or a library and meet somebody. And now you need to have this app to meet somebody because, well, how do you meet somebody at a coffee shop? And I'm like, isn't that kind of how we all met? Pre the dating apps and pre phones being a part of our every moment. I met my husband across a bar. Out in public, just human interaction.
Style. But yeah,
human style.
Human style. Yeah. I mean, but I think it's going to go so far the other direction that it's going to be like VR headsets for work, for recreation, for sex. It's just going to be, and then I think that there's going to be a small group of people that are going to be like outside still. Yeah. Weather permitting, that it's not acid rain and we've got breathable air, but it's like...
Yeah.
I don't know. I wonder, like, this, that's what I really admire the work that you do, because you create spaces for people to have human interactions, and whether it's a brewery or it's elevating the downtown outside spaces, it's really, really cool and really, really important work. And I really admire that you work so tirelessly on that, because it is our only hope. Not to put it too...
Well, it amazes me that everybody who has seen Black Mirror isn't like raging against the machine, because every single episode in that, I'm like, oh my God, we're careening toward exactly that. And then everybody's like, I'm going to rate my Uber driver. And I'm like, please don't. For the love of God, stop rating humans doing their best, not knowing what their morning was. Did they spill coffee down their shirt and they're scalded? Like, you're just like, back off, give everybody a break. Stop rating people.
Yeah.
Unless you are actually a food critic with an impeccable palate, how dare you write a negative review about a restaurant that you went to? I'm really like sick of that. I'm sick of, of everybody hiding behind a keyboard and being like, I can write and say whatever I want because, it's anonymous. And that's, So God, humans coming out.
It's
social
like,
clubs.
Yeah. Like having the cafes, and we've had a number of retail locations. It's like, if somebody leaves a bad review about experience, it happens from time to time.
Yeah.
It's like, jump on the phone. Hey, would you like to meet me for a coffee? I'd love to hear about your experience. I'll buy you a coffee. It's like, nobody's ever shown up.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, nope, it wasn't that bad. It was fine. Like,
it wasn't that bad, but I really wanted to write that 1-star review and say I would have left no stars if I could have. And then that ability for people to write a crappy review based on the service they got. And again, civility, human interaction, coming to the table. And believe me, I have had my moments where, I am not at my best and, something goes wrong in my world and I can become just that person. And I think what person I'm talking about, that person that is just so indignant, and this experience has ruined my entirety of my life, and I will never get over this moment because you got my coffee order wrong, And
sometimes that person is me.
Right? So we're all that person, but you're like, take a step back and, look at the barista, maybe their grandfather died that morning and they came to work because they knew no one was able to cover their shift, but they're there and they're making your coffee. And, it's just,
I meant me, not as in I was the asshole that pissed you off, but like
you've gotten the coffee wrong.
No, but me internally. Like sometimes the person that I'm berating and getting mad at is myself. Yeah. I didn't mean I was the one that got your coffee wrong, because I do that.
We are the ones that get the coffee order wrong. We are the ones that are the wronged party who just, blows it so far out of proportion. And then as human beings, we are the ones who are so cruel to ourselves. Right? So
more civility externally and
internally and externally. How do we, look at our surroundings and come in with some empathy and some, kindness.
I love that.
So, yeah.
All right. I got one more.
All right.
So we've known each other, I don't know, 4, 5 years now, sort of.
About that.
Since you and Brant moved to the area. And I like this question, and I've been taking people up on it. Do you have a book that you would recommend that I read right now, knowing my work, some of where I'm at in my personal life?
Yeah, a game changer for me in the fiction world this year was Cloud Cuckoo Land. It's from the same author as All the Light We Cannot See, and I'm not going to remember his name because I'm terrible with that. But it is a book that spans the time of the pre-Byzantine era all the way to the future of space. And it's segmented into these different periods and happenings, events. And it was a book that I wish I could read again, having not read it, if that makes sense. And it was a book that just made me remember that we are here for a moment and that our moment is important, but, it's ours. And you do as much good as you can, and you try and leave as good of a footprint that is not trash behind you. And I think that this was a fiction book that really brought me in, and I think it's a great one to read.
That's awesome. I will grab that.
All right.
From the local library.
Yes. Or the local bookstore. I think it's in paperback now, so.
Fantastic. Do you have something that you do to unwind, or a guilty pleasure?
Okay, aside from cocktails at Amherst Coffee, that's a tough one.
That can totally be numbers 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, that's it. That's numbers 1, 2, and 3. Cocktails at Amherst Coffee. I have an incredible group of a very small group of incredible friends. Got that backwards. And I do touch base with them. I'm a water person, so I search and I find the water and I find ways to get on the water. So when we lived by the ocean, we were always surfing and things like that. And here, it needs to stop raining so the river can stop being bacteria ridden, but whether it's rowing or paddleboarding or even just hiking at Amethyst Brook because the water's right there. So when I really am at a place where I'm like, oh, I'm not doing well and I need to find myself again, I try and find water. So very lucky I have a pool at home. I'm in it at least 3 times a day until probably November 1st. It's freezing. But I try and find the water. So I would say drinks at Amherst Coffee, friends and family, and then finding the water.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Thanks.
All right. Do you have any questions for me before we get out of here?
Your world. How is your world? You've got all these different things that you do. You've got cafe shops and you've got Quivr, which we've been sitting here having a great time enjoying a cup of our instant Quivr. And then you've got your Tabata, which I sometimes play along with and hate every minute of. But you've got influencing, you've got crypto, you've got this very big, expansive, non-linear world. How is your world?
On what scale?
I don't know.
13 out of 10, my world.
Okay. Wow. All right. Yeah, he's a newlywed. So
yeah, my world is great. My world, I find that it's sometimes overwhelming. There's so many things that I want to be doing, and I tend to get ahead of myself and set these expectations that are almost unattainable in the time period at which I try and attain them. So my world currently is focused on a little more introspection and trying to do less and trying to sit still physically more and take time to breathe, to bring awareness to my surroundings, my body, and whether that's sitting in the sauna or just sitting quietly in a spot, because I realized that I was just rushing from point A to point B whilst juggling C, D, and E all at the same time, and really focusing on trying to single task a lot more. In a world that I've always thought that I admired multitasking or being able to juggle and be good or do so many things at once, wasn't sitting right with me. So I've been consciously trying to single task. If I'm going to paint the wall in our warehouse, to not be checking my phone and listening to music and running off to do something, send an email or remember, just to be like, hey, I'm going to, for at least the next 45 minutes, do this one thing with all of my energy and my presence. Mm-hmm. And I found it really, really rewarding, and really difficult to do.
Yeah.
It's like my highest intention at the moment is to just single task cooking dinner, to, just do emails for 45 minutes and not tab flip. And I find it really, really difficult, but in the times where I do string some focused attention together, it feels wonderful. So that's where my world is at. It is scattered across, my marbles and my Lego are scattered all over the room. And I'm like trying to just clear out a little bit of space to sit.
All right. I like it.
Yeah.
And I like that you can admit that it's hard.
It's so hard.
Yeah. And I think as multitaskers and as people, I'm the same way. Since I was a little girl, I would watch the people that did it all. And I'd be like, I can do it all. I'm going to do it all. And to step back and say that is not truly the end all be all and probably not the healthiest place to be. It's amazing how difficult it is to find silence and space and breath and take that moment. Yeah, it's interesting. Good for you.
Yeah. When was the last time you took a conscious breath?
Again, as I said, I started the summer and decided I had a lot of things to change in my life. So I get up in the morning by myself and take my conscious breaths. I am finding myself leaving my office and not just hurriedly running for coffee, but taking the time to walk around. And one of the things I keep doing is reminding myself to look at all the perfection that is in the world that we as humans have no hand in. And reminding myself to breathe and to know that the days are short and the years are long. No, the years are short. No, the days. The days are long, but the years are short. We get so much time and it's not enough. So trying to find that space is very important.
That is awesome. I think that's a great place to end today's conversation.
Thank you for having me on today's conversation.
Thank you for being on the Quivr Show. This was awesome.
I love the Quivr Show.
If people are interested more about what you do, where is the best place for them to find you or connect?
That's a really good question because I'm not on social media, so that makes it kind of interesting and difficult. My LinkedIn it's a profile and it kind of, when I get like big press, like something Boston Globe-ish or something, I do link it. But I don't know. God. I guess you'd have to actually want to get to know me to really figure out where I am and what I'm doing, because I'm not really putting it out there.
So if you were going to take the time to find Gabrielle online instead...
I guess you'd have to watch a little bit about what the Drake is doing online and the Amherst Downtown Business Improvement District is doing online.
Or just go to your local coffee shop and...
You could super go to your local coffee shop and say hi to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I seem to be there a lot. Yeah.
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 Awesome.
Yeah.
Or just if you live anywhere in the world, go to your local coffee shop, buy an espresso.
Always.
Say hi to the barista.
And then go to your bookstore and buy a book. And then go out to a restaurant and get to know the person behind the bar or the person waiting on you. And, when you're getting gas, say hi to the guy working at the gas station. Like, again, civility, human interaction.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Gabrielle. And
thank you, Ash.
I'll see you in the coffee shop.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, Ash here again. Just wanted to say a special thank you and offer you 20% off everything over at drinkquiver.com. So if you're interested in any of our coffee and teas or apparel, use code podcast at checkout for 20% off as a little thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.